Hi folks, welcome to your mwis Friday Planner in association with Ellis Brigham. It's a rather wild autumnal pattern as we move into the start of October, and a taste of winter on our highest mountains as well. And those chilly patterns will stay around until the middle of the week, with some further snowfalls across the higher Scottish Munros. The main weather story as we go further onwards though is watching what happens to Hurricane Sam, which is well out over the Atlantic at the moment around Bermuda, but that will have some influence on us as we head toward the back end of the week and beyond, likely to draw in some much milder conditions from the tropics by that time. Before we get to that, we're feeling the effects of an air mass that's come towards us from polar climates over the North Atlantic and Greenland, and it's a decidedly chilly few days ahead through into the early part of the new week. This is the freezing level chart. This shows you the height of 0 Celsius in metres, and as we go into Saturday, it's around 1200 metres across the Scottish Highlands, so the higher Munros near or even just below freezing point on the very highest tops, so some further snowfalls to be found where the showers exist during Saturday. That freezing level may be lifting a touch during the day, but it'll barely get more than a degree or so above freezing on the summit of Ben Nevis, for example. It'll be a similar story onwards into Sunday as well, 1200 to 1300 metres, a typical freezing level through the day. So again, some snowfalls possible from showers on those higher Munros, and some hail mixed in for good measure as well. Into Monday, and it's maybe a touch higher with the freezing level. The temperature may go a degree or so above freezing on those highest tops, but it's still a rather cool feel, and that cool feel is likely to be around into Tuesday as well, likely to be a couple of degrees or so above freezing on the highest tops in Scotland. The synoptic charts then for the next few days look like this, and Saturday sees a rather complex series of low pressure systems coming in. A quite active feature running in across the English Channel will produce some heavy falls of rain for the south of England, getting into Wales as well, running into the Midlands, but even ahead of that, a front pushing in across the Irish Sea into southwest Scotland will advance northwards and produce some bursts of rain and that snow on the very highest tops in Scotland through the day, and that really pushing increasingly northwards as time goes on. Strongest winds from the south will be across more central eastern regions of Britain early in the day, will actually tend to ease across many western mountains, so considerably lighter winds through Saturday afternoon across a good part of Wales, northwest England and the Scottish Highlands. But just be aware then into Saturday night those winds will strengthen again. And that is as a quite deep area of low pressure swirls its way northwards across Scotland. Some heavy falls of rain and snow on the very highest tops in the Highlands, all advancing northwards. Then for Sunday daytime, we're into a generally showery west by southwesterly flow, but it's a cool feel still with that air coming off the North Atlantic. The showers most frequent in more western regions, and as bits of fronts and troughs come in from the Atlantic, that will just organise things a little bit more, so those showers may set in for periods across western hills and will spread eastwards at times through the day as well. It looks a rather blustery day across many regions, and a distinctly cool one then across most of the mountains. Here's how Monday is looking, and again it's a showery day with some heavy bursts of rain at times, again some snow on the very highest tops in Scotland and some hail at times as well in some of the heavier showers, and a bit of a tangle of a front coming in across Ireland. Again, could just run into western Britain as the day goes on. It stays a rather breezy picture, it stays cool as we've mentioned. We're watching then just away right toward the southwest for another little feature developing that could be spinning itself up into a quite active zone of low pressure across the country into Tuesday. Much uncertainty with that one at this time though. What we shall do then is just step back here and have a look at the bigger picture, because there's not a great deal we can do with detail for Tuesday and Wednesday at this stage. For the early part of the week, we're still being fed by that cool pattern coming around off the North Atlantic, circulating around a quite mature area of low pressure, one that has really lost its main frontal characteristics, but is still swirling around with bits of energy and still producing showers or some longer spells of rain. Over the Atlantic though, well out to the west, is Hurricane Sam, and it will be transitioning into a post-tropical system by the early part of the week, entering the jet stream, and that's where things do become rather complicated, because that interaction has a huge impact then on what our weather story becomes later in the week. A small area of low pressure, as mentioned, is trying to spin up across Britain as we go into Tuesday. That needs watching for detail for the risk of gales and some heavy rain again. That will then move off into the North Sea as we head towards Wednesday. The former hurricane then is still slowly moving over the Atlantic, and a bump of high pressure is just running in ahead of that, and we're dragging in a more tropical maritime flow from the southwest as we head to sort of Wednesday into Thursday. Now, the former hurricane still well out over the Atlantic, but bits of energy just off its forward side as it interacts with the jet stream could then get drawn across us. So there could be bits of frontal systems, areas of rain and gales that sort of break off that ex-hurricane and drift towards us. That most likely skirting into west and northwest Scotland, whilst higher pressure is trying to build from the south across England and Wales. There is a great deal of uncertainty then just how far that higher pressure starts to go. It could be that the main focus of it ends up just pushing a bit to the east of us, whilst bits of areas of low pressure still from the remnants of that hurricane drift across into Ireland and west and northern Scotland later in the week. It could be, from some indications, that low, that former hurricane, actually goes a bit further north towards Iceland. That is really open to question at this stage, though. So the general outlook as we go into next weekend and beyond toward the middle of October is that high pressure is expected to exist from Spain to France and southern Scandinavia, and remnants of low pressure from that former hurricane somewhere over the North Atlantic between us and Iceland. And it's just where those various pressure systems are positioned that will dictate how our pattern plays out. I suspect there'll be some rain at times still coming into western Scotland, but the further south and east you go, a greater chance of some drier days in there, and a generally warmer, milder pattern with the airflows from the south-southwest dominating through this time. We may just occasionally get fed by something a bit cooler off the North Atlantic, but I would suspect it looks a rather milder story through this period toward the middle of October. Plenty to watch then in the weather story over the next week or so. Keep up to date with your local forecast for your area every day on the MWIS website. That's been your Friday Planner in association with Ellis Brigham. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.